Have you ever stopped to ask yourself a terrifying question? What if no one is really your friend, not in the way you think they are? Not your best friend since childhood. Not the person who texts you good morning. Not even the one who stood by you in your darkest moments. What if those connections were never truly about you at all? Carl Jung, the legendary Swiss psychiatrist, didn't sugarcoat human nature. He believed that most of what we call friendship is nothing more than a complicated web of masks, projections, and unconscious patterns. We don't relate soul to soul. We relate mask to mask and call it love, loyalty, or trust. And here's the hardest truth Jung hinted at. Most people don't know you. They know a version of you that plays well with their own shadow. In this video, we're going to unravel everything you've been told about friendship. We'll explore why most relationships are built on illusion, not truth. How your persona, the mask you wear, prevents you from being truly seen. How projection sabotages intimacy. Why we repeat the same toxic friendships over and over again. And what it really takes to form a connection rooted in depth, not performance. If you ever felt alone in a crowded room, or wondered why your friendships often feel empty, one-sided, or draining, this video is going to change how you see everything. So watch closely, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why real friendship is rare, why Jung warned us about the lies we tell ourselves, and how to begin clearing away the illusions that keep you disconnected from others and from yourself. Take a breath. This will not be comfortable, but it might just be the most important wake-up call you'll ever receive. Number 1. The persona, the mask that hides you from true connection. Carl Jung introduced one of the most hauntingly accurate insights into human behavior, the persona. The word persona comes from the Latin for mask. It's the face you show the world, the socially acceptable version of you, polished, agreeable, likable. It helps you function in society. It gets you jobs, protects you from rejection, and helps you navigate conversations without spilling your deepest wounds onto strangers. But there's a cost. When your persona becomes your identity, you no longer know who you are underneath it. You become the funny friend who hides sadness, the strong one who secretly wants to collapse, the helper who is dying to be helped. And here's where it gets even darker. If you're wearing a mask, and so is everyone else, who's actually connecting with whom? Jung believed that most of our relationships exist between two personas, two masks performing a dance neither person even realizes they're doing. And we call it friendship. But it's not real intimacy. It's emotional theater. You smile because it's expected. You listen because you're afraid of what silence might reveal. You perform and perform and perform until you forget there was ever a self underneath the act. And when you finally do break the script, when you show your raw, unfiltered truth, people pull away, not because you've done something wrong, but because you've broken the illusion. You've stopped playing the role they needed you to play. Psychologists now call this identity fatigue. You feel exhausted not because life is hard, but because you're carrying a version of yourself that isn't even real. In friendships, this shows up in terrifying ways. You feel misunderstood, even with those who know you best. You say yes when you mean no, just to keep the peace. You feel drained after interactions that are supposed to lift you up. You crave connection, but fear authenticity will push people away. Jung understood this decades ago. When we over-identify with persona, we lose our depth, our truth, and our ability to be truly known. So ask yourself, in your closest relationships, are you really being you? Or are you performing a role you played so long, you no longer remember what a mask ends and the self begins? Because if you're not being real, no one can truly love you. They're only loving the mask. And that's not love. That's mutual illusion. Let's go deeper. Because behind every persona lies something even more powerful and even more dangerous. It's the part of yourself you've buried. It's called the shadow. Number 2, the shadow. Why you project on everyone you know. If the persona is the mask we wear to survive the world, then the shadow is everything we had to hide in order to wear it. Carl Jung defined the shadow as the unconscious part of the psyche, the collection of traits, impulses, emotions, and desires we rejected, denied, or buried. Not just the bad things, not just anger, envy, selfishness, but even your creativity, your sexuality, your ambition. If they were once punished, shamed, or misunderstood, they were cast into the dark. And what we exile, we project. We think we're reacting to other people, when in truth, we're confronting the parts of ourselves we don't want to see. Have you ever criticized someone for being attention-seeking, when part of you just want to be seen? Judge someone as weak, when you were actually afraid of your own vulnerability? Admired someone's confidence, only to feel small and resentful later? That's projection. It's the mind's defense mechanism, disowning something inside you and assigning it to someone else. And it happens in every relationship, especially friendships. You're not really annoyed at your friend's neediness. You're ashamed of your own. You don't hate their arrogance. You're uncomfortable with how you shrink. You're not in love with them. You're in love with the version of yourself you wish you could be. This is why Jung warned us. We don't see people as they are. We see them as we are. Friendship built on projection is fragile. It starts with idolization, the perfect friend, the soul connection, the one who gets you, and it ends in resentment, disillusionment, or emotional collapse. Because the illusion always cracks. One day, they disappoint you. They don't play the role you scripted for them. And you feel betrayed, not because they changed, but because your projection couldn't hold anymore. Modern psychology backs this up. Studies show that projection distorts emotional judgment and undermines trust. You're not reacting to the person in front of you. You're reacting to the mirror they hold up to your unconscious. So ask yourself, who in your life do you keep idealizing or resenting? Who evokes a powerful emotional response, positive or negative, that feels disproportionate to their behavior? Those are the signs of shadow at work. And until you integrate it, until you reclaim those lost parts of yourself, you will continue mistaking illusion for intimacy, familiarity for love, and emotional reenactment for connection. So the next time you feel triggered by someone, pause and ask not what's wrong with them. Ask, what part of me have I disowned and projected onto this person? Only when you reclaim the shadow can you begin to see others clearly. But this isn't the only force distorting friendship, because even deeper than your personal psychology lies a collective inheritance that shapes every relationship you've ever had. Let's talk about that next. Number 3, the collective unconscious. Why you repeat the same friendships over and over. Have you ever noticed that the same types of people show up in your life again and again? The same needy friend, the same funny one, the one who always takes, the one you always chase. Different faces, but the same emotional script. Carl Jung called this phenomenon the collective unconscious, a vast psychological inheritance we're all born with. And within it live archetypes, universal patterns of behavior and experience that shape how we see the world and relate to each other. These archetypes, the hero, the victim, the caregiver, the rebel, aren't just symbols. They're blueprints. You don't consciously choose them. You fall into them. And so do the people around you. In friendships, this explains why. You always feel like the rescuer. You attract people who need saving, or you're constantly drawn to those who abandon you. It's not random. It's archetypal. It's your psyche replaying stories from a collective human experience. Stories that are older than you, older than culture, older than language. And the scariest part? These patterns don't just shape how you behave. They shape how you see others. You mistake an archetype for a person. You bond with someone not for who they truly are, but because they fit a familiar role in your inner drama. You think, she just gets me. But what you're really feeling is, she fits the pattern. This is why people cling to relationships that are toxic, one-sided, or emotionally destructive. Not because they don't see the harm, but Because the pattern feels safe. It's known, and the psyche craves the known. Jung called this psychic repetition compulsion, the unconscious drive to reenact unresolved emotional themes until they're healed. You play the same game with different players, hoping this time the ending will be different. But unless you become aware of the archetype you're trapped in, it never is. And in times of stress or crisis, these roles harden. The caregiver becomes a martyr. The rebel becomes the saboteur. The peacemaker becomes invisible. You stop seeing people and start reacting to archetypes. Real friendship requires breaking these unconscious contracts. It demands that you see the person, not the role. That you relate from presence, not pattern. That you let go of emotional scripts written by someone else and choose consciously who you want to be. But this requires enormous awareness, because while the persona hides you from others and the shadow hides you from yourself, the collective unconscious hides the truth behind why you're drawn to the people you are. And when those patterns shatter, when the archetypes stop working, what's left? That's when we meet the most terrifying force of all in friendship: projection. Let's go deeper. Number 4, projection. Why you're not reacting to them. You're reacting to yourself. Carl Jung once wrote, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." But few people take that invitation seriously. Why? Because projection feels so real. You think you're mad at your friend because they're selfish. You think you admire someone because they're confident. You think you're drawn to someone because they're kind or deep or magnetic. But here's the truth. You're not reacting to them. You're reacting to a part of yourself you haven't owned. Projection is the unconscious transfer of your internal reality onto someone else. It's not a choice. It's automatic. You do it with everyone, especially the people closest to you. When you reject something inside you, whether it's a desire, an insecurity, a strength, or a fear, it doesn't disappear. It just looks for someone else to attach itself to. That friend you idolize? They might just be holding the mirror to your unlived potential. That person who triggers you the most? They may be expressing the part of you that you've spent years suppressing. Let's go deeper. You say someone is too arrogant, but maybe you were punished as a child for speaking up. Now, anyone who does it, especially unapologetically, makes you seethe, not because they're wrong, but because deep down you miss your voice. You say someone is too needy, but maybe you built your life around never needing anyone because vulnerability felt unsafe. Now, when someone asks for emotional closeness, your walls go up, not because they're weak, but because you're afraid to admit that you're lonely too. Projection distorts everything. It's why some friendships feel magnetic until they fall apart overnight. Because when the projection fades, when the illusion cracks, you realize you never knew that person at all. You only knew what they represented. Friendships built on projection are fragile. They swing from idealization to disappointment, from admiration to hatred. Not because people change, but because the mirror breaks. Jung believed that becoming conscious of our projections is one of the most difficult, but essential steps in psychological growth. Because only when you see what you're putting onto others can you begin to take it back. Own it. Heal it. So here's the question. What do your friendships say about you? Who do you admire? And what does that reveal about your own potential? Who do you judge? And what does that reflect about your denied emotions? This isn't about blaming yourself. It's about becoming radically honest. Because the more you own, the more clearly you see. And only then can you stop reacting to yourself and start relating to them. But we're not done yet. Because even if you become aware of the mask, the shadow, the pattern, and projection, there's still one more illusion left standing: friendship itself. Let's talk about what Jung really meant when he said most people aren't truly your friends. Number 5, the illusion of friendship. What Jung really meant. Carl Jung never said friendship was impossible, but he did say that most friendships aren't what we think they are. And that's a sobering truth. We assume that just because someone is close to us, shares their time, their laughter, their memories, that the connection is real. But Jung warned, much of what we call friendship is simply a mutual agreement of unconsciousness. Two masks, two projections, two archetypes acting out a familiar dance. And when you remove those layers, what's left? Often nothing. Not because people are bad, not because friendship is a lie, but because very few people have done the inner work required to truly know themselves. And even fewer know how to see someone else without distortion. Think about it. Have you ever had a friend where the moment you changed, grew, healed, evolved, the relationship started to break down? That's not an accident. That's the moment when your old mask no longer matched theirs. Because many friendships aren't built on mutual evolution. They're built on emotional contracts. I'll play this role if you play that one. You be the funny one and I'll be the listener. You need me and I get to feel important. And when those contracts are violated, when one person wakes up, the friendship crumbles. Jung called this process individuation, the journey of becoming your full, authentic self. And here's the paradox. The more individuated you become, the fewer friends you'll have, but the deeper those relationships will be. Because true friendship isn't built on comfort. It's built on truth. It doesn't require constant contact. It doesn't depend on roles. It demands presence, awareness, and a willingness to meet another human being soul to soul. And that level of connection is rare, because it requires that both people drop performance, face their shadows, recognize their projections, and choose each other consciously. So no, not everyone is your friend. Not the one who flatters you. Not the one who entertains you. Not even the one who's always around. Your true friends are the ones who invite you to be more real, even when it's uncomfortable. The ones who hold a mirror without judgment. The ones who stay even when you grow. And sometimes the loneliest moments of your life, when masks fall away and familiar faces fade, are not signs of failure, but signs of awakening. Because real friendship can only begin when you begin with yourself. Let's bring this all home in the final section. So, after everything we've uncovered, the persona, the shadow, the unconscious patterns, the projections, the illusions, you might be wondering, who can I trust? Who's really my friend? Here's the hard truth. Until you face yourself, your mask, your wounds, your unconscious roles, you'll keep mistaking performance for connection. But here's the liberating truth. When you finally begin to see through the illusion, you realize that you are the friend you've been looking for all along. You are the one who must sit with your loneliness. You are the one who must confront your own contradictions. You are the one who must break the emotional patterns you keep repeating. You are the one who must be willing to be real, even when no one else is. And when you do, something shifts. You no longer chase relationships that echo old wounds. You no longer tolerate surface-level friendships. You no longer perform just to belong. Instead, you become a magnet for truth. You attract others who have done the work. You recognize kindred souls not by how they make you feel in the moment, but by how deeply they see you. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." That's not just a path. That's a precondition for real friendship. Because the more you become yourself, unapologetically, vulnerably, honestly, the more space you make for someone else to do the same. Friendship is not about having people. It's about meeting people again and again without the mask, without the projection, without the script. It's about seeing and being seen. And in a world full of noise and performance, that's the rarest kind of connection there is. So I'll leave you with this. Are you truly friends with the people in your life? Or just with their masks? And more importantly, are they truly friends with you? Or just with a version of you that's easy to love? If this video sparked something inside you, let us know in the comments. Which part resonated most with you? What mask are you ready to take off? And if you're ready to keep going deeper, subscribe to this channel and join our growing community of seekers, thinkers, and truth lovers. because this journey doesn't end here. It begins now with you,